What's going on, everyone? This is Sherry, and you are tuned into She Said What She Said, the podcast where we interview badass women in the sports world and beyond. We have a special week this week because we are representing my home state. That is right. My seventh tattoo is a little outline of the state of Michigan. I just got on my foot and I could not be more excited. I don't have enough guests from Michigan. So, Terrence, get me more people from Michigan. That will be our goal for 2023. Wearing green because it's St. Patty's Day week. Chicago, my adopted hometown, celebrated last weekend. So I got the nails, got the this, got the that. But we already did the river. We already did the drinking last week. But that's fine. We could still rock the green today. I don't have a co-host. I didn't want one because, again, we're talking to Michigan royalty, and I didn't want any Chicago people to mess this up and ask embarrassing questions. So it is just me. Our guest tonight is, when I say badass woman, this woman, I couldn't even I can't even count on my hands how many accolades she has, because we could start with the world of dance. The world of dance, she is phenomenal. She could be her own guest in that right. She is award-winning dancer. She has toured with Broadway plays. She has been in the Cincinnati Nutcracker, one of my personal favorite ballets. And she was a lead principal for Aretha Franklin as a dancer. I mean, hello. And she owns a dance studio in Detroit area, I believe, for about, I want to say a decade now. But that wasn't enough for her. She has to also go into the skating world. And so her and Candice, who could not join us tonight because she's a little under the weather, they have co-founded the Dream Detroit Skating Academy. It shot to national news last year because it is the first Black female-owned skating academy, at least in Michigan. I'm not sure how countrywide, but this is not something we hear about very often. And she's doing it to really serve the youth of Detroit and help them breaking down barriers into a very high barrier entry sport. It just happens to help, too, that we have a new star in the skating world, Star Andrews. And so it seems like a great time. Let's bring Miss Angela Blocker-Loyd on in. Hey!
Hi, how are you? That was a great introduction.
I try.
That was good. I like that.
You had so many things, though. I didn't even mention Genuine. I was like, that was in there too. But
you said the most important ones, I think. So that's fine.
Aretha.
Yeah, she's a big one, and for sure, icon, of course, and like the stage play. So it's been, I've toured, so that's been pretty cool too. So
that is just, I mean, yeah, you're, when you say performer, it's like on the stage or on the ice, wow, yeah. It's just incredible for both.
Yeah, it's definitely my career has definitely been a blessing, for sure. So I'm appreciative.
Fantastic. And you do it all in the wonderful city of Detroit.
Yes, and you're from Michigan. Okay.
I am. I know Terrence was like, yeah, I said that she's from Detroit. I'm like, well, I'm not from Detroit. I'm from Ann Arbor.
Okay.
It's close, but I was like, it's like someone from Evanston saying they're from Chicago.
Yeah. Okay.
It's there and it's here. So no, I'm from Ann Arbor. I am a Lions fan. I'm a Pistons fan. I'm a Red Wings fan. I'm all those.
Diehard Michigan. Yes.
Yes.
And I like the green nails too. Sorry.
Oh, well, thank you. These little things, they're press on.
I wouldn't have known.
Oh. Well, so tell me about, you're from Detroit, born and raised. What high school did you go to?
Oh, so I went to 3.
Oh, that's why I didn't find that information easily.
I went to Cass Tech.
Yeah, everyone goes to Cass. I got the green on.
Yeah, I went to Avondale, which is in Auburn Hills. And then my senior year, I was at Mumford High School. Long story how I ended up there, but whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, I went to 3. So I got a dose of everything, in high school. So it was cool. Made me a better person.
Isn't Mumford blue? Is that their color?
They're blue. They're like baby blue and burgundy, and Cass is the green and white. And Avondale was purple and white. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was a track runner.
Okay.
And so, and are a pioneer. And so, yes, Kaz Tech and Mumford, two phenomenal high school
Mumford
track
definitely
programs.
has some track runners for sure. My oldest son, he actually runs for Motor City, who
Motor City Track Club.
Yeah. So yep. And he's working with B Giles now. So that'll be exciting to see.
I love it.
Yes.
But how did you get into were you a dancer first or were you a skater first? Which kind of came first?
I started dancing first. I started dancing when I was about 4. And skating didn't come till I was 9. So I danced first. Yeah. Actually danced and roller skating. I only say that because I feel like both kind of helped transitioning to the ice more easily. So I did both. But I started off as a dancer. So I started dancing when I was 4 and then started skating, figure skating when I was 9.
Okay, fantastic. And what got you into figure skating?
So my mom is an educator, and she had a student that figure skated. Her name was Allison, and I guess she told my mom one day, like, "Hey, I've seen her dance. Like, I think you should let her come and try figure skating." And so at the time, there was a place in near downtown Detroit. It was called City Sports Arena, and actually the Red Wings used to practice there sometimes. And so I went. And I tried it, and Allison, she just showed me some things, and I just took to it very easily, and I really liked it. And then my mom was like, "Well, if you like it, we can put you in lessons." And I was like, "Cool, okay." So that's kind of how I got into it. Candice started at the first. So there was the first black skating club in Detroit ever. It was called Renaissance Figure Skating Club. Candice actually started there, and then later on, she helped to run it, and I think it hasn't been in existence, I think, since 2013. But so she actually started there with Renaissance Figure Skating Club. And then she later went to Berkeley, Michigan, and was a part of the Berkeley Royal Blades Figure Skating Club, that's where I started, at Berkeley. So I never started, I'm sorry, Renaissance also started in Butzel Ice Arena, where we are now. So for Candice, it's kind of like a full circle. Yeah. And she would have stayed there, but at that time, her coach told her, told her mom if she wanted to take it further, that she needed to put her in a suburban rink because they just didn't have the coaching staff and the tools to get her potentially where her talent was leading. So that's what made her mom put her in Berkeley, where we met. She's a little older than me, so I was a little younger, but we met at Berkeley. Candice started, so in ice skating, we have you can do learn to skate lessons. So it's like group lessons. So Candice started doing that. I never did that. When I started skating, I went immediately to privates. So my story is a little different. I never did group lessons. I started just doing privates. And so with a coach. And then that's how we met. And then we just, growing up,
we went through, yeah. And Candice, she skated in Chicago. It was Ebony on Ice.
Ebony on Ice, with Roheen, who is also stationed in Chicago. It was the first and I believe only Black full casted touring ice show. So that's really huge for her to have been a part of that. And they actually just did like a little reunion. But I think in January in San Antonio, they didn't skate, but they kind of just all got together. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because it's been 20 years, 21 now. Oh man, I would love them to go on a reunion. I would love to see that.
Wouldn't that be cool? That's what I said.
Right? I want to see a new one like Ebony on Ice. I would love to see that. And Frank says, Angela, welcome, congrats on a great career.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know Frank, he's from our guys show on Tuesday. We interview a lot of, professional athletes. And I'm like, man, how am I going to condense Angela's?
Thank you.
Girl, do you sleep?
Listen, today I was like, oh, I need some coffee or something. I'm definitely like the Energizer Bunny, but
okay.
I try. I try to sleep. It's this time, it's like it depends on the year, right? What point in time of the year. So for me, March, April, May are like actually into June are super busy. So
Mm-hmm.
my husband knows, my mom knows, like you're gonna be with the grandkids a lot because it's packed with a lot between dance and skating.
Mm-hmm.
Skating, we are getting ready for our ice show in May. Dance, we have a recital in June, not to mention competitions leading up. We do
Mm-hmm.
competitions. So yeah, these next 4 months are definitely going to be busy for me. I'm going out of town in 2 weeks to Fort Lauderdale, and I'm going to enjoy doing nothing for a couple of days because I know it's gonna be crazy when I get back. So,
Oh man, I was gonna say, do you have a competition down there? No,
no, I'm
just
going to vacation.
nice, right?
I need it. So yeah.
hmm and then it's interesting how you already brought it up about needing to go to the suburbs, right, to have
Mm-hmm.
access to the types of lessons. When I was doing research for the show, I know one figure skater, so she was my one.
Okay.
But she's from Belleville.
Okay.
One of my club teammates in track and one of my teammates at Penn State. And I asked her, I was like, Brooke, how'd you get into figure skating, right? Because we don't see a lot of Black women in figure skating.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, was your mom a skater? Like, what was this? But she was just saying, like, her and her brother had so much energy, like she just kind of took them to a bunch of things and thought and figure skating stuck. She started when she was 3. She did it when she was 16. And she said she skated at a place in Wayne, Michigan.
Okay.
She couldn't remember the name of it. From Belleville to Wayne, I mean, we're talking 25 minutes. It's not
Mm-hmm.
that far, but I mean, when we think about like the barriers of entry, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it was in a different city. She had, parents that could take the time out to drive out, all these things, the parents that could pay for the lessons.
Right.
And so it is definitely something, when you're saying like you had to go to the suburbs, it's like that is such a
Mm-hmm.
big barrier to so many youth for so many
Yeah.
activities, not just skating.
Yeah. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Frank. So Frank was a hockey player, and he was saying how figure
Oh.
skating taught him how to balance.
So that's why we open it up for both boys and girls, right? So
Okay.
maybe they don't want to do figure skating, but their parents are like, well, they can at least learn to skate, and get balance, and then progress on to hockey, when they're ready to do that. So good job, Frank.
Yeah. What's the difference between like figure skates and hockey skates?
So for one, the blades, because you have to be able to do like edges in figure skating. So the blades are very different. Like figure skates have a toe pick. And hockey skates, it's more like straight. There's no toe pick. I think they're a little shorter too. Like ours is like the length and kind of go a little bit above. I can get a skate if you want me to.
Right. We need to see
The boot and hockey skates are like definitely the blade is thinner and it's straight, completely straight.
Okay.
And to me, when I look at hockey skates, I feel like they're a little shorter.
Okay.
They're like shorter than a figure skate blade. So, and then the boot itself is like way more bulky than a figure skate. It's big. Like I hate when I ever have to wear hockey skates because like maybe you go to a rink and like a outdoor rink or something, and you have to get like if I didn't have my skates, I have to get a rental and it'd be like a hockey boot. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to wear this. Right. So yeah, they're definitely more bulky.
Okay. Yeah.
You had so when you had talked about the suburbs, were you asking me like kind of what was I think you were going to start a question. I think Frank kind of
I was kind of framing the question, but I was also just kind of telling the story.
Okay, got it. Okay.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Because I was kind of more and Frank was saying figure skates longer, a quarter inch thicker than hockey. You just sharpen them. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so I knew they were shorter, and thank you, Frank.
Yes, and he might have Googled that. Yep, so yeah, like we're busy talking. He's like, let me get the little answers. No, it was less of a question and more of kind of a statement, right, of how things have been. And it's not just Detroit, right? We see it in Chicago too, of so many activities
that are
best facilities.
So it's interesting even today, like we are literally at the only indoor rink in the city of Detroit. There is no other. the rink that I told you I started at, that's
Yep.
like a field house now. That doesn't exist. So the only indoor rink in the city of Detroit is located at Buzzles Recreation Center. A lot of people don't even know that it exists. They didn't know it existed until, the media did the coverage on us, and they were like, "Oh, there's a rink in Detroit." We have 2 students that actually come from Ann Arbor that
Oh,
drive
okay.
from Ann Arbor to Detroit once a week because they wanted their kids to one. Well, I mean, the real well, one of them came from another rink, and her family wanted her around people that look like her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, I don't think their child ever even thought about skating until they saw, again, people that look like them on TV. And instead of them going to whatever rink is by Ann Arbor, they wanted to bring them all the way to Detroit to skate. It just says a lot. I'm glad that we were able to provide an outlet for anybody, but especially Black and brown kids that didn't knew nothing of figure skating, let alone there's a whole rink in the city of Detroit. And to see how many people came out, especially when we first opened up, was like it was amazing. We had like easily our first like little introductory, easily like 175 kids.
Wow.
And a lot of them had no idea that Buzzles even was there. So it's crazy, like how we have resources to things, but we don't know because ice skating's not popular. It's just not in the Black community. So I'm glad we were able to provide and give them the knowledge and education about figure skating, and there being a rink right in Detroit.
Yeah, and it's got me thinking, like, I guess I don't even know, right? Like, if there is one in Chicago. I know Ann Arbor Ice Cube, because I remember when that opened up when I was a kid. But yeah, it's like, man, I'm like curious if Chicago even has anything, but I think it's all probably in the suburbs. I know we had a really good, I can't remember his name, the speed skater that came from the Chicago area, but I believe everything was in the suburbs. Yeah. And, and it's also, talking about like we've seen someone that looks like you.
Yeah.
We're at a time now, it's been since the late 80s since we had a prominent Black woman figure skater, Debbie Thomas.
Yeah, Debbie Thomas.
There you go. I sometimes, I have like 15 names in my head, and I'm like, it's one of them. Yes, I mean, it's Debbie Thomas, and now we have Star Andrews, and she has been winning things. I believe she medaled at USA's.
She did medal. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, how is that like? Kind of going into all of this, like, are you seeing more and more kids like? Seeing someone on TV and wanting to get into it, or is it not quite there yet?
Yeah, it's still a lot of work to do, but she definitely has opened the eyes of a lot of young girls to be like, oh, okay, like but because it needs to be on like a level, because that's major in the Black community, but again, because a lot of Black kids just don't go to figure skating as their sport. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot different than like, oh, this gymnast just medaled. It's like this big thing, or not Beyonce, but somebody like Beyonce. So it's like it's like it should have. To me, it still needs to be bigger. Like she should still be reaching more people. Even in like Black media, like that's just not. I didn't see a lot of coverage on that. And I think it's just because people don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't, I don't remember that being like on the Shade Room, but everything else is, you know what I'm saying? Everything else is posted. Oh, this tennis player, basketball, cheerleader, whatever.
And every time Sha'Carri Richardson does something wild.
Yes, exactly. So why isn't Star Andrews on there? Like she just made actual Black history. That's a big deal. But it's because it's just not a sport that's popular in the Black community. And so the goal is to help get that changed, So we could have the next Olympian.
Right. And, I was just about to say, hopefully she makes that Olympic team. Is that next year?
I think so. Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. Everything got moved with the Olympics. So I'm like, I think so.
Yeah. COVID is kind of weird. So I don't know.
Yes. No. if she makes the Olympics, especially if she medals, I think that you're going to see a massive, I hope we see a massive thing. And it's like that, you don't necessarily need, it's great to have trailblazers, but it also kind of sucks that we're in 2023 and we're still talking about trailblazers, right?
Mhm.
For women in anything, Black women, like, it's just like, really? It's because we thought Debbie, Thomas, people probably might have thought that she would have
Yeah,
been the trailblazer, and then
she
it just kind
went
of
to the
fell off.
Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another Black skater, like people don't know, is like Rory Burkhart. I met
Mhm.
Rory Burkhart, and Rory Burkhart is actually the person that produced Ebony on Ice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was a known figure skater, and she hired Candice. She used to be
Mhm.
the special guest at our ice show a lot. So she knew Candice as a teenager, and watched
Mhm.
her, and then hired her. So I think that's really cool. But it's like people like her, like she was the first person I ever saw do a backflip on the ice. And I
Yeah,
remember
which you
seeing that,
can't.
like, oh my gosh.
Well, and they can't do that anymore, right?
No, I mean
Or
it
in
was during
certain
the show.
competitions.
You
Yeah,
can
I
do it
think.
during the show, but for
Okay.
competitive skating, no, you can't. But but it was a big thing when the Black skater did it from France. But I'm like, I saw
Oh,
that
right.
at
Yeah.
my ice show in Berkeley, like
No big
years
deal.
ago. So it's just it just doesn't get the recognition that I think it could get.
Mhm.
Um, but hopefully that I think it's changing slowly.
Mhm. And it's like, social media can blow things up, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially if she has a good, like, Olympics, something like that, where all you need to do is get the clips of her and
Yeah.
get that going viral. Because you want young girls to
Hmm.
see women that look like them, right?
Yeah.
And it's just normal, right? Like, yeah, I can do that. Be,
Yeah. Let's make stuff
um,
like that go viral, like the positive stuff and not all
mhm.
this craziness.
Yeah, I do like try to search for like women in sports, women in
Mhm.
kind of weirder sports. That's why I'm like, oh, I like, I posted her a while ago because it's like something of like, and people send it to me too because they know I'm
Mhm.
looking for it. And it's like part of the reason why I started like the whole podcast and everything is because like one thing I noticed is if a guy did like a sport in college, doesn't matter if he was good or not. People always like, oh, you're an athlete. Like, oh, I want to
Mhm.
interview you. I want you're my podcast.
Yep.
And then it's like I have teammates that were literal Olympians. I know people with actual medals, and
Yep.
no, and it's like, hello, like she's a better
Yeah.
athlete. Can we talk to
Exactly.
her?
And
Yeah.
that's because we're women, and it's just the world we live in, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But we kick ass. They know it. They
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, it's like trying to like, give more women a voice and
Yeah.
get more of a representation and see how many different areas. It's like I love to find like a new sport. I'm like, all right, what can I get another?
Right.
I had
Right.
a professional MMA fighter last week, and I
Oh,
was like,
that's
she's gonna
cool.
kill me, and I love it.
Yes. See,
you
stuff
know.
like that. You don't hear about it. So
Hmm.
I
So
I,
let's.
I appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate. Thank you. But let's get back to you. I don't want to talk
Okay.
about me. It's not about me.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you're skating and you're dancing right through your
Mhm.
teenage years. Which one? I know like your dancing really took you on your career path. Did
Yes.
skating kind of go to the side for a bit, or what was kind of your life with skating kind of after your teenage years?
Oh, after teenage years?
Yeah.
Yep. So, I went to college in Atlanta.
Hmm.
So, I would only skate. I didn't even say, well, no, I took my skates with me. I did take my skates with me. But I was in school. So, I was concentrating on that. And I went to Centennial Park one time in December, and they had an outdoor rink. And I
Hmm.
put on my skates, and I was just, doing stuff I knew to do. And people were like clapping, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm not even doing anything for real. So that kind of, I'm not gonna say my freshman year, say like my sophomore year, kind of sparked my interest back into skating. Like,
Mm.
okay, But again, I was in Atlanta. I didn't know where any rinks and stuff were. So it sparked my interest, but I still kind of didn't really do anything. When I moved back home, um, I got hired with like this after school program. And skating was like so 2 days a week they do academics and then 2 days a week they skate or introduce skating. And so they asked me to coach. And so I did that. And then from there, the program had like a lot of problems that was going on in it. So even then I was kind of like, it would be really cool to like, and a lot of times we would go out to a rink in the suburbs, you know. And it wasn't, and a lot of the parents complained about it being like not just skating, like not a club, and like why they can't, like they didn't compete, they didn't do any of that. It was just kind of like a introductory into skating, which is really cool, you know. So even then I thought like, oh, it'd be so cool to like just start a club. But I never acted on it. And then I knew like Candice, so even though she started with Renaissance and then later went somewhere else, like I said, she eventually became one of the directors. So she became a coach for Renaissance Figure Skating Club before it ended. And I reached out to her, or no, she had to come to my studio recently for something. I'm sorry, that's my dog. I had to come to my studio. I mean, she was at my studio recently. And I was like, again, these parents had always said something to me about, oh my gosh, Milo, sorry. The parents had always said something to me about their kids not being able to skate consistently. And they wanted them to compete and to test and do everything. And I was just like, Candice, I have a crazy idea because I'm always having crazy ideas. And I was like, I have a crazy idea. I was like, well, what do you think about us starting like a figure skating club? I was like, it's not something that I want to do on my own. One, because like you asked me, like I had stepped away from skating in college and, it was just coming back to me really. I know she really didn't stop until, she didn't have a choice. And so I was like, I would want to do it with you because, I just couldn't think of anybody else I would want to do it with. I always admired Candice as a skater. She was always the better skater between us. She was older. She was our it skater at our rink.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah. So I was, I've always admired her. And I was just like, would you try it? Would you do it with me? And she was like, actually, yes, I've been thinking about doing something of the same thing. And I was like, okay, let's get this started. And literally, like that conversation happened in like August, I think, August 2021. And by February 2022, we had launched Dream Detroit.
That quick.
That's how it happened. Yep.
That
we got right to business.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Because y'all came, I mean, it like came out with everything, like the outfits were on point, everything.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
We were working real hard for those months to put it together. And excuse me, our PR person, she did a really good job of getting the right people there. And it kind of just took off. Like we did one interview with the Detroit News, and that interview led to like Good Morning America, ESPN Women, and
I think that's where I saw it.
Everywhere, wherever, Black Enterprise, and it was everywhere. That one story kind of like, got us all this attention. So thank you, Jasmine Barmore, because that was your story.
Man, yeah, she did good.
Yeah,
she did real good. You know what? When I saw it on the news last year, I just had assumed it had been around for 6 months, a year, and it was finally getting news. Nope.
We just celebrated our 1 year.
Oh my God.
Last month. Yep.
I love it. And so how hard was it, arranging with the facility too, right? Because you need to share ice time, you need to work out all that logistical stuff.
So, okay. So I was really close. So there's a new director, but the old director, I was really close to her. And so we had talked about it, and she was like, no, let's do it. Like she was, of the center. She was like, let's do it. Let's do what we have to do. So she kind of put us on the right path, and then she ended up getting a promotion. And then the new director came, but I knew the new director as well. So that kind of, relationships are very important
Yep.
in any industry, I think. And just having a good personality. So I knew the new center director. So it was very easy for us to just transition from one to the other. And he was on board with everything. And they had already knew about us downtown. So they were ready for everything to happen. Of course, it was not easy. We had people that did not want Dream Detroit to start. They didn't want it to be at that rink. We definitely had some haters, but God
Why?
knows.
Any idea why?
I do, but I'll keep it clean. I do know
Okay.
why, but they were upset that they weren't going to be at the rink anymore, just just them, and that we would have to share. So they wanted to cause a little bit of drama, but ultimately they did not win, and that's that. So we're there and doing very well. And
you have what, six coaches? Is it?
No, we have 13.
7? Oh,
13 including me.
My bad. You have 13 coaches now.
They are all of color.
Yeah.
Yep. And we have all women and one man.
There's always one guy.
One guy.
How did you recruit coaches? Was it, again, just networking?
So it started. So Candice, myself, Crystal. We set the foundation, and then one of my old students, Kendall, she's in college. Well, she actually started coaching her 12th grade year, so she was in the 12th grade. So it was just the four of us, and we were kind of just like, oh, we'll be fine, because we didn't think we were going to get a lot of interest. So we were like, oh, we'll be fine. And then Candace's mom actually was like, no, I think y'all gonna need some more coaches. Like, this could be really big. And we were like, no, well, we saw how big. So then it was just like, oh, wow. So like the more news coverage we got, it was like the more kids were interested and the more parents were reaching out. We were like, we definitely need more coaches. We can't do this with four. So Candice reached out to a couple of her old students that were now adults. So that helped. And then we got a magnitude of like people that had skated that, we knew or we didn't know. And we just ended up with 13. Like, so some of them, like I said, were people that we knew, but a lot of them, no idea. They were just reaching out like, hey, I used to skate, this is what level I'm on, blah, 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 blah. I really want to be a part of this. And we were like, okay. And they weren't reaching out like once. It was like multiple, like Instagrams, like, hey.
Hey, per my last email.
Yes. So
did you see my message here?
So, and that's how we ended up with 13. Yep.
Oh, wow. That is, and have you kept the same number?
So we have 14. So we have 14. Now we're down to 13. So
okay, but you still, you're not losing. You're not definitely. Oh man, so, which is great, because that means the people that are coaching, it wasn't a one and done for them, right? It wasn't just like, oh, let's do it for a season.
Yeah, we've become like a family, and also they really are excited to see the kids grow. Because a lot of the kids, they were the first for those kids. So they like to either grow with them, as they move to the next level. A lot of them want to stay with their same coach, or they move on to somebody else. But, they're dedicated to making sure those kids grow and do what they're supposed to do and reach some level of what they want to do.
Sure. Right? Because not everyone wants to,
right?
Go to the top level compete, but I mean, it's, if you find an activity that you enjoy, especially as a kid, like, that's half the battle, and getting confidence for them, giving them something to get excited about, right?
Yes,
is so hard, because it's, not every kid is, a superstar athlete, right?
Right, exactly.
And it's, especially when we have schools that are cutting arts or cutting different programs, and you don't have access to this, like finding more places after school, on weekends where kids can try like a new activity and find their passion. I love to see that.
Yes, we actually plan on doing a school show. So a typical ice show is like 2 to 3 days long. Last year we just did 2 days, but different cast, just to keep down the crowd. But this year we're gonna do it the real way. So we're gonna do 3 days of an ice show. The May 17th, 18th, and 19th. You should come if you're able.
I was actually going to ask you those dates
Yes.
because I was like, I don't think I might
You
be
should
around.
come. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday. But we're gonna add in a school show so that we can have schools, do like $5 per kid. They can bus them there. They can watch the show. We can do a Q&A with them. And then, they can see, so they can go back home and say, hey, Mom, I want to do that. So, see? So, yeah, we're looking forward to doing that.
I love it. How many kids are currently in the program?
Right now we have 80. So when we first started, it was over 100, but we knew that there would be a decline because once, they really get into the nitty and gritty of skating and what it really goes into.
Hard.
Yes, it's hard. It's not just, I'm gonna skate for a month and I'm doing axles. Like, it takes a lot of work. So you're gonna start seeing the kids that really want to do it, and then the kids that just were like, oh, I want to do it because it's fun and it's on the news. So we're happy with our kids right now and the progress that they're making, because all the ones that are there, they're there because they really want to do it. Or we have little 4-year-olds that are just trying to figure it out, but they're cute to look at too.
That's so adorable. Yeah, and I mean, just get, right, you have a high energy 4-year-old, just put them on ice skates, right? And if they fall, they're like basically on the ground anyway.
Exactly.
It's no big deal.
Yes.
I didn't ask you though, like, I mean, you said Candice is a better skater, but like, what, when you were at your prime, what types of moves were you doing?
So figure skating, it has a lot of elements and tests to it. People don't know that. So it's not like to get to a senior level, you have to take tests. So in figure skating, we have, so we have 2 types of tests. You have moves in the field, that's what it's called, and then you have freestyle. You cannot move on in freestyle until you take your moves. So moves in the field are like edges and crossovers.
The technical.
Yes, the stuff that nobody really wants to do. Like it's not jumping, it's not spinning, it's none of the fun stuff. Moves is like, oh, why do I have to learn this? Like it's so, it's the stuff that frustrates you because it's like you're not on your edge. Now you got to be on the outside edge, inside edge, forward crossover, backward crossover. It's like that kind of technical stuff, like you said. So that can frustrate a lot of people. So again, that kind of narrows out, who wants to really do it, because it's like, well, you can't get to your jump because I could be working on a double Lutz, but that moves is not right. You can't do it without the other. So when I stopped skating, I was at a novice. I took my novice moves in the field, and I have to take my novice freestyle. So I think it's novice, and then it's 2 more, and then it's senior. Candice is senior, so she went all the way through.
Wow.
So I was almost there.
Yep.
But the harder, not Princeton. The harder give me 1 second.
We have a child saying hi. Look at his.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's fine. I love little babies.
You guys are seeing me in mommy mode. I'm sorry.
Mom life. No one ever leaves their mom alone. Like your dad could be sitting right there, but it's like, mom, I love you.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
That was fine. You are not. That's not the first child I've had visit me.
Okay.
It won't be the last.
Okay, so yeah, so I stopped at novice, and then let me see. Oh, you're taking me back to have to think of what I was doing.
Yep.
Well, what I will say is my favorite jump used to be a double Lutz. So that was like my favorite jump. So a double Lutz. I like anything where I can use my toe pick. So that would
Okay.
be jumps like Lutz, flips. I know you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but
I love to watch figure skating, like with the
okay. So
time and
anything
stuff.
you
So
see them stick
these
that toe
are,
pick in
yep.
the ice and then jump, that's what I like to do. Anything that had me going from like an inside edge, like flat on both feet, and I had to jump, I hated doing that because you have to like push really hard to get the rotations.
I think I know what you're talking about because I feel like I've seen like, yikes.
Yeah. So, my favorite jump when I stopped skating was a double Lutz. I was
Okay.
very good at split jumps. So those jumps where you see them jump really high, and that was because of dance. I had like the muscles. I could do high jumps already from dance. So when it came for me to do those in skating, it was like wow, like I was there. My favorite spin at the time. I mean, even now, like I spin all the time. So I like doing a layback. I like doing a sit spin. I used to really be able to do this really cool like spin where I could grab my leg and like kind of pull it up.
I was about to ask you, did you do the ones where you hang it and
I tried that like a month ago and it goes somewhere. I was like, oh, I will never do that again. I pulled something trying to do that, but
right, your life flashed before your eyes. Yes. Oh Lord. Yeah. I mean, all that shit's impressive as hell. But it's it's interesting. You already talked about the moves. I don't know. Do you know anything about equestrian by any chance?
Horseback riding, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So my sister does it. She still competes in eventing, and it's like you start with a dressage, and then you do the fun jumping things. But like we were talking about the moves, it's just like the fancy feet with the horse just doing all these little things, and like me, I'm watching it, and I'm like.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, this was really good. I'm like, okay. But then after the last Olympics, it was like when Snoop Dogg was, I don't know if you saw the clip, he was narrating the crip walk of the horse.
Oh, I didn't see that.
The horses that like, when the top level dressage, when they're doing, it's impressive as hell. But like to get the horse to do that with all the stuff, it gets boring, right? It's like, oh, I just want to jump, right? I want to jump the horse over something, or I want to do the fun things. But like, you can't do that if you don't know how to do all these little building blocks.
The basics, exactly. And we have a lot of kids like that now. Like they're older and they're like, well, when can we? And we're like, you got a little bit to do before we get there. Like you'll get there, but you have to like. I think that's the hardest thing. Is like skating. Like it's something that you have to progress, and it's not gonna happen in a year. It's not gonna happen like that. If it happens in a year, you are just literally meant to be a skater. But with hard work, you'll get there for sure. Definitely.
I love it. I want to go back to the dancing though.
Okay.
Because I need to know, first of all, how did you end up in Cincinnati in the Nutcracker? Because that's not close.
Oh,
like 5 hours away.
So that was actually high school. So they come to like every state and they do auditions because they need a kid, like a cast for some of the parts in every state. So they came to Michigan. I think the first time I did it was in 10th grade, and I auditioned and they picked me. And then I auditioned again the next year, which was 11th grade, and they picked me again for the same exact part. I think one, because I did it well and they didn't want to have to teach it, because it was like their Nutcracker is a little different. It's not normal. So like the toy soldier, his helper is like a bunny. Oh, I don't know if you've seen it.
Of course.
It's a bunny, and like you have to wear a bunny head, and I had to wear this stupid bunny head and bunny feet and a belly, and I hated it. But I hated it then, but looking back, it's like a solo part. Like, I was the only bunny, and everybody else was a soldier. So I was like, oh, well, I actually had a solo in the Nutcracker for 2 years. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, so that's I just auditioned and I just got it both years.
Did you do because that's ballet, obviously, but were you mainly ballet? Did you have a wide variety of different styles?
Oh, a big variety: ballet, tap, hip hop, jazz, modern, lyrical. Contemporary wasn't a big thing back then, so I didn't really grow up doing that. Tumbling, musical theater. I did baton twirling.
Girl, I did
pom-pom. So my studio that I grew up in, like our teacher taught us to do everything. She made sure we were very well diverse. So I did everything. I've done clogging, like yeah. You name it, I've probably done it.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And how did you get linked with Aretha?
I
I need to
auditioned.
know.
I auditioned.
Was that in like a Detroit area audition or?
Yeah. So she always tried to use Detroit dancers and
Mhm.
musicians.
Okay. Mhm.
So I went. It was like a special audition, and a friend of mine that danced for her, she told me about it, and it was a private audition. It was because they had something coming up and they needed a dancer very quickly, and there were like 10 of us there, and we had to do the choreography, and then we had to freestyle, and then literally at the very end, the choreographer, who I'm still very close to this day, she was like, "Okay, so thank you all for coming. Angela, you got it. Everybody else, thank you. Have a good day." And I was just like, because she was just very blunt, and I just was like, "Oh, okay." And everybody's kind of looking at me, and it was just like, "Did we clap? Do whatever?" And then so everybody left, and I was like, "Oh, thank you." Then I got ready to go. She was like, "Oh, where are you going?" And I was like, "Home." And she was like, "Oh no, you have like an 8-hour rehearsal." And I was like, "What?" Because I literally had to learn the whole show and be ready to dance that weekend. So,
Oh shit! Dang.
so yeah, traveling with Miss Franklin was, or dancing with her was incredible. All of our tours, everything was top notch. Hotels, the food, just everything. It was a great experience. The shows,
Mhm.
definitely, definitely experience that a lot of dancers don't get to have. So I'm glad. I'm definitely glad that I did.
How long did you tour with her?
I was off and on with her for 8 years. So she
Wow.
had like 2 sets of dancers. So if she
Mhm.
wasn't using us, she used the other ones. If she wasn't using
Mhm.
them, she used us. So I was off and on for 8 years, but I was with her last 2 final years as well. So I thought that was
Wow.
really good. Yeah.
Uh,
So her very last show where she used like dancers, I was there.
mhm.
And I did her, she did a free show. She hasn't done it in years, a show in Detroit.
Mhm.
It was outside. Um, and I got to do that show. So that was probably my most memorable one because I thought it was really cool. Like the whole city came out. It was like it was free. Everybody was there.
Yeah, and it's Aretha in
Yeah,
Detroit.
yeah. And it's
Oh,
crazy because most of her shows, like believe it or not, the audience is predominantly white.
I would have guessed that, especially when you're touring.
Yeah. And so when we were in Detroit, it was like all blacks.
Yeah,
So it was real different. And I was like, this is not how a show normally, is really cool.
yeah. Ah, that's amazing. Like, how? I mean, are you just out there like this is peak life? Like it's all downhill from here. I mean, how do you deal with
I
the
don't
emotions like
know. I have so many ideas and stuff of just stuff that I want to do.
that? Hmm.
I'm not ready to quit anything. So I don't really know what peak is. I actually had a really good meeting for a proposal before I got on with you. Um, that I hope it goes through. It's for the studio. So
Okay.
I won't talk about it because I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, you
But
can't jinx
if
it.
we get it, then I'll tell you. So I don't know. I pray and I just wish for everything to happen, or I just work really hard to make whatever I need to happen, whatever I want to happen,
Mhm.
because I really just want to impact these kids. At the
Absolutely.
end of the day, it's not even really about me anymore. I want to impact these kids. So now I'm like trying to get them to book shows and get them
Hmm.
to book jobs and everything like that. So
Because you've been
people
on
always
your.
ask me, would I tour again? I'm like, if the right tour for the right amount of
Hmm.
money comes through, yes. But I got kids, I would love to get them booked.
Yeah, yeah. Because you've been running your dance studio for what, a decade now?
Yep. In
Wow.
October, it'll be 10 years. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. How did that come about starting that? Was it again just one of your pipe ideas of like,
I,
yeah, I want to have a dance studio?
I always wanted to do it. I always said it
Uh-huh.
that I wanted to open a dance studio. And I actually was like on the road touring back and forth. Like, I had like a break and I was like, okay, the time is now to do it. And
Hmm.
then I started it. And then I had to hurry up and hire people because I had to go like back out on the road. So I've done good though. I've only missed one dance recital because I was
Oh
on
wow.
tour. I've been present at all the other ones. I only missed one, and that was 2019. I think I missed either 2018 or 2019. I missed that recital because I was on the road. But other than that, I've been present for all of them, so that's been really good.
That's incredible. And how do you balance, being a mom and having a dance studio and having a skating club and apparently working on something else cool and all the other things?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I don't know. I try and like be very I'm not super organized, so that's one thing. But I try to like balance my week.
Mm-hmm.
Like I call Candice every Monday. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do this week? Because Candice is very organized, so that's where it works that way. So she's like, okay, you need to do blah 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 blah, and I'm gonna do blah 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 blah. Cool. Okay, perfect. For the studio, I have a parent that's also a friend. I'll call her. Well, she works for the studio as well. I'm like, okay, what do we need to do? What needs to be done? Okay. So, they'll give me my list, and then I try to stay on that. I'm very intentional about taking, now that I'm older, I try to be very intentional about taking my off days. Like Mondays, like everybody knows, don't ask me to do anything on Mondays. Mondays is my day for my family, my husband, my kids. Like I cook on Mondays. Like don't ask. The answer is no, unless it's a dire emergency or unless I volunteer my time. Don't ask me. Tuesdays, I'm at the studio. Wednesdays, I'm at the rink. Thursdays, it depends. Well, we're not at the rink on Thursdays. Thursdays, I may do a drop-by at the studio. Or I'll spend the time with my family. Fridays, I'm at the studio. Saturday, I'm at both.
Oh, shit. So Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. Saturday, I start off at the rink, and then I end at the studio. So I be tired Saturday nights. But so I try and balance my week out like that and keep a schedule that works for me and makes sense. And I do pretty good up until March when I kind of
March it starts to just all fall apart. Got it. Until May.
Yeah, but everybody knows, and then it's like then it gets back normal. Then because in the summer it's super light, so it's like I'm always here getting on everybody's nerves, and they're like, "Don't you have something to do?" And I'm like, "No, when I had something to do, y'all wanted me, home."
Right.
So yeah,
it's always got to have a project. I love it.
I try to take vacations as much as possible. So yeah.
And what really drives you to, focus so much on the youth? Particularly the youth of Detroit. I mean, it's clear that it just kind of radiates, from you, the passion for it. Where does that come from?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe because my mom is an educator, and I've always watched in the way she's like one of those educators. Like you want your kid to be in her class. Well, she's an administrator now, but she just always went hard for her students,
Yeah.
And she's very passionate. So I'm sure I got it from her. And I've just always been the type, like, I've always wanted to make a difference in kids' lives. And I've always wanted kids to like have confidence and know that they can do things. And I know a lot of kids don't get a lot of opportunities. So I always wanted them to, and I did. I was very blessed growing up, and I just always wanted them to experience what I got to experience growing up. That's just really important to me, So I guess that's what I guess mainly my mom. Yeah.
I love that because and it's one of those things like you look at Chicago and it's like, oh, what are these kids doing? Like, well, you're not really giving these kids any other things to do. Like, let's expose kids to more things. Let's help kids find the things they love, the thing that they're passionate about, the thing that I'll say everyone's dogs are like, hey, what's going on? Hi, puppy.
Hi,
baby. This is Nala. But yeah, and I love it. It's really, it's all about the kids, right? I don't have kids, but when I vote for the mayor of Chicago, this and that, my first thought is who's going to do the best for the schools. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, who does the teachers union endorse? Those are the people that I want because those are the most important. Like, these are the future of the city, is literally our youth, right? You
Yeah.
can't leave them behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, I also think of like how I was like, I was a great athlete, but I was also a great athlete in a very conventional sport, right? So if I didn't have athletics, like, how would I find my confidence?
Mm-hmm.
How would have I made friends?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, because our sports are typically, we make lifelong friends from those things.
mm-hmm,
So I think they're important. You know, when my son is not doing football or track, I'm like, okay, you got to go do something, because sitting around the house all day is not going to work for me. You know, because he's like
mm-hmm.
sleeping, and I'm like, no, like, you're being lazy. He's like, mom. I'm like, mm-mm. So for me, I'm always finding something for him to do, because I'm like, sitting in the house is not the answer for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate, um, women like us that have gotten the opportunity to ex- get exposed to those things and gotten the opportunities and built friendships and relationships from being in sports.
Absolutely. I gotta ask, what event is your son running with Motor City Track Club?
He just started doing a relay last year. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
which one. He does the 100. I'm sorry, 200. Yeah, he does the 100, the 200, the 400. He's really good at the 400, but he hates it. But he's really good at it. So
Yes, that's what I ran in college.
yeah.
That's
And I
my
made
little
him
guy.
run the what is it, the 8?
800. Mm-hmm.
He ran it before. He actually came in second his first time. He said he was never running it again.
Oh, but you will, my friends.
I don't know. I haven't gotten it. I haven't. He hasn't done it. He went to Junior Olympics. That was an
Okay.
experience. It was
Yeah.
hot down there. We were in Houston, but
Okay.
yeah, running in that heat, that was different. I was just like, just do good, because
Mm-hmm.
I was like, just run. I'm not, whatever you get, whatever. But yeah, so he likes it.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's good old summer track with the long ass track meets.
Yes.
My lord.
Yo, they last all day. You
They
want me here at
do.
7 and I'm not leaving till 6? This is a mess. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we used to always have. We had one meet every summer at Martin Luther King High School,
Okay.
and that was like one of the longest meets. Just just
That's
there
probably
all
the one
day.
they have at Renaissance now.
Okay, yeah, because that was not a good track.
Yeah.
Okay, it was there's like
All
some little
day.
divots in it, but yeah,
Yep.
you be out there, but it's for. I see those coaches, and I know I have good friends that coach youth, and I'm like, man, y'all must really love those kids,
Yeah.
because that is all day,
Yeah, it
all
is.
day, all day.
No, the parents, we love these kids.
Mm. So I know, you're in Eastern time. It's getting close to your bedtime. I know you got things to do, and you kind of alluded to one of my final questions that I ask is what's on the docket for Angela in 2023. Personal and professional. Like, what are your vision board or kind of things that you have starred that you want to do this year?
I really want to I really want to start looking at a bigger facility for my dance studio.
Mm-hmm.
For skating, we're really focused on like getting grants now that we're nonprofit.
Okay.
Well, we have a nonprofit. So we want to get grants to be able to just do some other things for the kids. Getting through these next couple months. And I really want to so I mean, that's professionally. I just really
Mm-hmm.
want to, get a new facility, just
Mm-hmm.
continue what I'm doing, growing. Personally, I want to go on a really good vacation this summer.
Yes. Love it.
I take my summers very seriously, because it's my downtime,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like people messing with them. So my friends know, like, don't be no. People be like, oh, I sit in the winter. Well, I don't sit in the winter. I sit in summer. I love Chicago. Chicago's like one of my favorite places.
Girl, I was just about to say, there's a really great place that has a summertime.
I love summertime.
Come on, visit.
Chi-town summers are the best.
Hit me up.
I will.
Right by the
I
lake.
will.
Yes, I'm always down.
I will.
I love it. final question for you. If we were to give you a mantra or like a phrase, what would you say that you use is what would describe you?
Oh, what describes me?
Or like a mantra you tell yourself, something, a quote that you use, something that speaks to you. Do you have any of those?
I mean, I have a quote. Yeah, I have a quote I always say. I mean, it's I have two. One is if you can dream it, you can do it. Because that's typically what I do. I think of whatever in my head and then I attempt it, you know. And then this one a lot of people already know, but I really live by it. Um, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I live by that because I like I stand by what I want to do, and I don't let people like knock me off my square. I'm not easy for that to happen. And I don't plan on falling for nothing that I don't want to do. So, you know, I stand firm and standing for what I think is right. And I speak up for what I think is, you know, I'm that person. And I'm not easily influenced. So I'm the rebel. I'm the rebel.
I love it. I love it. A rebel on ice skates. Well,
Yes,
on roller skates too, but a rebel on skating on something.
Yes.
So you said May the weekend
17th, 18th, and 19th.
Wait, 17th is a Wednesday.
Oh, okay, that's not it then.
So 19th,
whatever that
20th,
Friday
and
is.
21st.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
That's
I'm gonna look at see. I might be coming to Michigan that weekend.
Yes,
I'm coming this weekend. So I'll let you know if I do choose.
Oh, you're coming this weekend?
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Michigan Friday.
What are you gonna be doing?
Yeah. It's my mom's birthday on Monday.
Okay, well you have my number. Hit me up and see where you are. Yeah.
I love it.
Stop by the studio or the rink or whatever.
Okay, I can't skate.
That's okay. A lot of people say that. That's okay.
I'll be holding on to the board. Okay, I'll text you though.
We're having a little thing for this organization called Jack and Jill on Saturday, and they can't skate either. They're a group of their organization is bringing a group of their kids, and we're going to help them skate. So
I love it. I love it. Well, you'll be hearing from me soon because I'll be out there. I come out Saturday through Tuesday.
And thank you for shows like this. Like I appreciate you allowing me to use my voice and and you giving us women a platform to speak on. So thank you.
Of course. And you said you're like, I'm gonna talk to myself for an hour. Yeah.
I did say that. I was like, what? Me? Yeah. So
I know, and I'm like, I gotta wrap this up because I could keep talking.
But then I know I'm a talker too. So you made it very easy to talk. So thank you.
Thank you. Well,
thank you to everybody watching.
Yes, have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Oh man, what a phenomenal show. What a great, inspiring woman. Like, wow. Thank you, Frank. And I just realized I missed this question. So I am going to ask her that over the weekend because we got to know. Yeah, that is definitely something about the ankles. But I wanted to do a special shout out this evening. Normally my shout outs, I might just say a quick something, but over the weekend, it was a big weekend in the world of track and field because it was indoor NCAAs. Now, y'all know I ran at Penn State, but my coach is now the coach at University of Arkansas, Chris Johnson. And he led his women to an amazing victory at the NCAAs. They were not predicted to win. Texas was predicted to win, but they showed up. And they showed out, and one of his women broke the American record in the 400, and then his 4x4 broke that world record. It's amazing to see, a coach just continuing doing well, and I really just want to give a shout out to Chris Johnson. Like, he definitely made me. I only had him for 2 years. He made me a better athlete. He probably made me a better person. And to see him do something so amazing, with his athletes, they are kicking ass. And him and his brother, Boogie Johnson, those men are definitely the next generation of phenomenal coaches. We saw half of the last year's World Championship 400 hurdles was their athletes, 4 out of the 8. We're going to keep seeing that, and I think we'll see that in more events. And it's just amazing to see such great men having so much success. And that's really my special shout out for this evening. So on that note,
this has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.
bye.